Hello, 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 here we go, blank mat. Oh, no, I am here, don't worry. We're off. So, today is a hip opening day. I've crossed my mats, but of course, you don't need to do that. I do laugh when I do my little jig. The mat's crossed simply so I can move around and you can see different angles. So, lie down. Take your arms above your head, just have a little wiggle, a big stretch. As I say, we're going to work on hip opening. So the first thing we're going to do is just check that we're in our neutral alignment, separate the feet and take it into hip mobilisation, which means you allow one leg to drop out to the side, slide the foot down the mat, turn it back to parallel and slide the foot back in. While doing this, your pelvis doesn't go with the leg, so you're connecting into your core to spiral your leg around. The hip goes into a little turnout, you get a little bit of a groin stretch possibly, comes back round again, place the foot down. And once you've done 3 or 4 one direction, you reverse direction. Your aim is, and my foot's going a little bit out to the side, the aim is to slide the foot straight down the mat, not let it come in or out. So you're really looking at leg alignment, pure hip rotation, which again just starts to get that hip rolling in the socket, starting to get it ready for the rest of the work that's going to come on the day's workout. When you switch legs, you'll often feel something different. We are two-sided bodies. One side behaves a little bit better than the other one can be naughty. You can have a look up, see what your hips are doing. Sometimes having your hands there, you sort of feel, but not as obvious as if you just looked up. You don't have to look at your piece of paper, by the way, to see what's coming next. Once you've done the other side, then just settle in, your hips hopefully feel a little bit better, and then we've got a sort of butterfly leg coming up. One leg falls out to the side, and then the other one is going to follow it. So the knee goes out, the other leg comes on top. It does do that in a minute. Goes out, other knee comes on top, and the hips turn. Your head might want to turn. Awesome, let it. Don't hold back there. Then whichever leg was on top, allow that to open out to the side. And what you'll feel is a stretch, and at some point, the other leg goes, I can't stay here any longer, I need to follow. So let that happen, and it's a very good way to passively stretch the inner thighs, which often get tight because we don't open our legs all the time that often. We sit with the legs crossed, with them together. Try to keep a straight face at that comment that I just said, depending on where your mind is at right now. If your head didn't move, absolutely fine, you're just letting your body drop round through it. Taking it into a bridge, just to see where your body's at, get a little bit of looseness coming through the spine, because the next few moves do take it into spinal movement as well as hip mobility. Our body is one connected thing, so with this workout I am going to try to bring a little bit more in. Keep the feet grounded as you come through your bridge. Again, I notice my right foot tends to rock up a little bit there, which is interesting to me. Remember the height of the bridge. This is called the Kathy Grant slant board. If you bring your palms up on your thighs, you only roll up till you're filling the space up underneath your arms. So the hips go up, then the waistline, then the ribs, and it also kind of stops you going too high. We start to add in a little wiggle. Now I'm staying in a tube, basically, and my hips and body rotate around a center line. So one hip goes up, one hip goes down. The knees as if they're walking forward, not swaying sideways is what you want to try to get the feeling of there. As I say, that starts to come into our next move. So all this is building into to really give you good movement for the things we're going to do next. Legs come up into tabletop, which means we need to set abdominals. Apologies, I'm a little bit off camera. Both legs tip to one side, that same hip movement that you had in your bridge. So as they go one way, they're going to the left, the right butt comes up. If they're going to the right, the left butt comes up. Options, you can turn your head with your knees or opposite to. If having the legs in the air is a little bit too much today, simply place your toes on the ground and your legs will rock that way. And if you're having a really amazingly awesome day, you're more than welcome to take the legs higher up into the air, straight or bent. But what you're not allowed to do is fall over. So the core is kind of pulling in opposition to the legs to keep you in that center line. You can think of yourself as being like candy floss, whizzing around a stick. Your legs are the candy floss, going around a straight line, which is your spine. Wider the arms, the little bit more stability you might get. We're coming next into the leg circles. So stretch down your mat. One leg up in the air and you keep that side long. And the leg just circles around. Now, it's quite good that my leg's chopped off. One, I'm a little bit swayed to the right, but also it's almost as if my knee were bent. So this is what you're trying to get the feeling of. Even if your leg is straight, you're moving your thigh bone in its socket. The supporting leg that's stretching down the mat is strong and long with a pulled back foot, a flexed foot. It's almost like you're standing on something there. Again, I'm just looking and having a quick look at my hips. I think it's because I'm lopsided totally on the mats, but I'm actually straight down if I diagonalize myself. So knee bend if your hamstring is a little bit tight, or that you feel that your hip is hiking, as in lifting to your shoulder on the way round and up in particular. So that's your leg circles 1. That's just stirring the hip in the joint, getting you some feeling, because then we move into 2. Again, keep the hip long. Our leg goes right across the body, stretching out through the butt, comes around, comes up, come open. So I did this in a previous video. What you want to be aware of is that you, again, are circling the hip in its socket. The hip is one area that loses its mobility, especially in older age. So with this workout, we're trying to put it back in. The leg goes down, around, open up, and as with all the other moves, your abdominals, core, center is kind of counterbalancing the weight of that leg as it goes. Now this time on, what I do is on my free leg is I point my toe. I feel it's nicer because my pelvis is moving around. I just think that gives it a longer line. Now, however far out your leg goes, either way, it's your leg. So mine goes a certain distance. If yours goes a little bit more than mine, awesome. If yours doesn't go more than mine, awesome. Work to where your body's at. You don't have to spin around again during to change sides. This time you're going to get to see me doing it the other way. So now you'll really appreciate the hip rocking across, and that top side, keep it long. Think that you're trying to reach the sitting bone of the leg that's moving down towards your other foot. The shoulders, quiet as you can get them. So if you only saw my upper body, you wouldn't maybe know that I was doing anything. Long, strong, pointed feet. It's a little bit poetic if you can get there. Beautiful twist for the spine. So this is not just about hip mobility. What happens is, as you'll notice, on that way my spine is still, as your hip comes across, you get this rotation coming through your back. So it's another great way to get some movement coming through your spine, which again, sitting all day, we lock ourselves in one place. Energy gets stuck. So we're just doing a big unwinding for ourselves. After you finish this one, you're going to turn onto your bellies and then onto one side. So stretch the bottom arm down along the mat, head on top, bottom leg bent, straight. Again, bent is a little bit easier for balance, which for what we're trying to achieve could be better. Long line, neutral spine, hip on top of hip, and the top leg just moves forward and back for now. So again, stop waist, reach long. Now this move can be a wee bit confusing. It's called the bicycle. Top waistline, stay long, keep reaching. Move your leg forward in space, stretch the leg out straight. Straight leg moves back behind you without changing your spine. It bends and then it goes forward. So straight line back. Now when it bends just here, you want to try to keep the upper part of your leg very quiet. So it really is just your knee bending. It keeps you in hip extension, which a lot of bodies are prone to a wee bit of tightness through the front of the thigh, and this is a pretty good way to get it to stretch. Then we reverse direction, so it goes behind you, it straightens out, straight leg comes forward. Again, thigh stays still and bend. So it really is, it's a coordination challenge as well. It's a bit of a brain ache, but if you can get it, it's a really good way to get knee and hip kind of talking to each other, basically. The next move is your sexy move. The leg stretches down, the knee comes up to the ceiling, and you lift and you kick. You can't quite see, but I do this weird little flick. You don't need to do that. 2 ways you're going to do this is, the first one is I let my pelvis move with my thigh. The second one, I'm going to do my utmost to keep the pelvis still, and I'm alternating between the two. So one, I get movement happening in my spine. The other one, I'm doing my best to keep things still. And they feel different, and this is the beauty of the work we do. You just try something different, try it on for size and see what happens. And we're going to take it into a kick and check it out. Swing. Leg goes forward, might bend a bit at the front or the back, but now check out my hips. They're rocking with it. My body's rolling to and fro. My knee, my head, my body, it bends. Just swing it. Really? Just let it rock and roll and be a bit more free with the body. Again, integration between the leg and the spine. So now you've got the side view of me, and I was very aware of trying to set myself up, not going into my general banana posture. So forward, as your leg goes forward, a flexed foot could give you a little bit more stretch down through your hamstring. It's the back part of the leg that when it goes behind you, you really want to keep still there and draw your core on. Simply because we're trying not to get into back movement at that part. We're really just working through the hip. Bicycling. So again, notice if you can how try to keep the upper leg still as I straighten the full leg. So there, the knee stays still, foot comes to, didn't do a good job on that one. So my right thigh was actually feeling tighter for whatever reason. I think I tend to overuse my right leg. So that's why the muscles in that thigh just go, And that's why I'm taking my time a little bit on that bend, so I do find that stretch. You might find you put a lot of weight in the supporting arm. Taking it away is going to be a little bit more challenging for your balance. Give it a go, see what happens. But our aim really is to try to get hip, knee, movement, stretch through the front of that thigh. Nice one, Lisa. Good job on there, I did. And as I say, keep the spine still and you will get that hip joint moving. Move the spine and we run. Sexy leg comes back this time. Up, flick, and reach down. So the hip is turned out a little bit. Keep trying a different turnout. You'll get, again, a different feeling, different butt muscles work. You'll see when I do that hip movement, I let it go. Yeah, you let the hip rock back to kick up. And when you don't move it, again, it's a little bit different in the joint. I held my leg there, by the way, just to give it a little bit more pull, just I felt like it. Swing the leg. It's like it's a pendulum coming up next. So it goes forward and back. Pelvis moves with it. My body rocks. I put more weight on that arm. Again, and you just spinal movement with hip joint. This is part of how we live and what we do. And it's a little bit more freeing, less controlling, and it does just feel really, really good. So just know the difference between when you're still and when you're not. Hands and knees comes next, and then transition down to lying on your front. We're coming into a little swan, so we're going to take some extension through the upper back. Lengthen your legs down the mat. Head lifts a wee bit, and then up through the upper back, coming through only. The bit that the body gets really, really stiff. What I did with my hands then was basically said I'm trying to move forward and up, not just up. So there's the dragging sensation through me. I said to someone at work the other day, slide your nipples along the mat and pick them up. Worked for them. It was a man. If it works for you, give it a go. Baby butt comes next. And I say that with joy because this is another Kathy Grant move. You stick your bottom in the air. Simple. So you lie there, upper body relaxed. You stick your ass up. Then you melt it on the way down. Great for, again, opening up the hips. There's a feeling of release of the hips on the lowering. Hard to say, but if you can keep muscle effort out of it and just think, I'm sticking my bum up, I'm dropping my bum down, just bleh. We're going to combine those two. So it's baby butt to swan. Doesn't mean it's a baby swan or a swan butt. So chest comes up. Chest goes down. When the chest is down, the butt starts to come up. So it's a sort of gentle rocking horse type motion, basically. What I've found as I've done this with myself and other people is as the hips go down, the chest comes up, there's a feeling that your lower back doesn't tend to grip when you're trying to work through the upper spine. And that's really and truly what we want to get. And for me, I don't move through my lumbar particularly well. So baby butt is a damn nice move for me to do. Coming into leg movement, so put your head back onto your hands. Two legs come up and then one goes up, one goes down. Again, it's that feeling that you're lengthening through the core, through the spine, reaching your toes long. And the leg kick comes from just underneath your butt cheeks. I've moved this into a little knee bend, which gives me, again, a different feeling through my thigh, opening up through the front of the hips. And I got funky. I decided to sway side to side, turn it out, do weirds. I don't know what I was starting to do. I think I did a breaststroke leg at some point. And you can play around with this sort of thing. The main thing is you'll see my hands went underneath my hip bones, so I could make sure that I was keeping them quiet on the mat. Open and closes. One thing that tends to happen that I experience is that people's knees tend to bend. They think they're straight and they're not, they're bending. So just make your legs as long as you can, basically. Think that you're opening up an eye in the back of your knee. That can sometimes help you get that feeling. That should give you a pretty decent butt workout, which helps hip extension. Then we do come into hands and knees. And one more Kathy Grant move is, apologies again, I'm just off camera here, Jane Fonda. So we've got a cat stretch again, get that spine moving a little bit. And then one leg goes out behind you. Keep long in your body. Remember to set your arm spirals, which again is a previous video. The one leg goes up, the hips stay level, and I just bring that knee to the ground and back up. So here, I'm trying to keep the rest of my torso still and simply moving through my hip joint, stretching it out behind me. Then my head starts to come into it. So my knee comes in, my head goes down. There's a small amount of butt and neck movement. And this is basically where we start to get bigger. So the knee comes under, the knee goes out, and I start to bend the foot behind me as if I'm trying to put my toe on my head. Never going to happen for my body. And then the full version of the Jane Fonda is it gets a little bit bigger, it gets a bit more like whoop whoop. You get that foot bending, kicking. Like I say, it's trying to get right behind you. Beautiful way to open up the front of the body. Really, really, really is great. And then changing it to the other side. Let's reset the shoulders. Make sure you're lifting up your gut from the floor. And the first thing is everything stays quiet. So as the leg moves, nothing changes in the spine. Once you've done 3, 4 of those, then your head starts to drop down as the knee comes under, up as the knee goes out, or as the leg goes out straight. It's the coordination between upper and lower body, which is so important in us as adults, and if you have children, what you want to encourage them to do as they're starting to learn to crawl and get onto their knees and then walk. So once I've got that rhythm going, I start to get a little bit bigger for it. Again, lift and kick. There's a little bit of a, remember Jane Fonda, a bit of cardio, fitness queen going on in there. You could put leg warmers on if you're in a cold country. Definitely not going to do that here in Singapore. Enjoy that move, and when you've done it, we're going to transition to a move that we did last week called the seated twist. You'll see I had to move off of my mat because this mat was really, really, really sliding. So hand, hip and foot in line. Again, I'm headless. We come up, we come over, and you reach that arm underneath. And you'll see that that's how I slipped. And then I went, oh, I think I might end up going even further off camera, which is rather silly of me, to be honest. Yeah. So apologies again. Like I say, we did this move. Hopefully you can look back, or if not, you'll understand the words that I'm saying as you do. So you can see my setup anyway. My left hand, my left hip, my left ankle and right ankle relatively good in alignment. As I lifted, twisted underneath, the left foot could lift. So I'm balancing on my left hand and my right leg. There's this feeling of up and over, a push back through the arm, a lift up through that supporting leg. If that's too tricky, then by all means, and if your balance is a bit compromised today, keep the hand and or the foot on the floor. We always want to try to tune into where our body is, how it's feeling, what it can do, what it can't do, and each day we are a different individual. So take it where you're at. That leg can come up, awesome. Let it come up and transition yourself to a down dog. Oh, you can see my shadow, that's quite cool. All I'm doing is lifting one leg up into the air, and then I start doing a little knee bend, getting foot movement, getting ankle movement. My ankles are a little bit stiff, so this is a really good way for me to try to increase the angle at the front of my leg there. And then sillily, see, I didn't think about this as I did it. I moved away from the camera, whereas the way I'd set it up, lessons always being learnt. But here's the shadow roll down. Me and my shadow. Sorry about that. So big deep breath in, arms come up and overhead, roll yourself down, do a funky dance. I do quite like that shadow effect. Maybe I'll do the next one all in that. Anyway guys, enjoy it, love your heaps, and see you again.